This month I'm going to bring you a bit of an unusual poll. Usually a poll means you meet the girl and you take her home, you leave the club with her. That's not what happened in this case. In this case what happened was I met the girl, it was going really well. I thought logistics were good, and so I was going for the poll. Turns out logistics were terrible, and I actually kind of quit on the set because of logistics. Quit/friends dragged her away. It was a little bit of both at the time. I didn't push as strongly as I could have, but at the same time I didn't think it was really going to work. But then, turns out, I just messaged her out of due diligence to exchange numbers, and then she started messaging me to meet up with her later, and she actually facilitated the logistics to invite me back to her friend's place and make things actually work out. So a bit of an unusual poll, but it is something that will happen, and it is definitely something that will happen when you're running good solid game, getting the girls chasing, building intrigue, that sort of a thing. So there's like good game, and then there's effective game, which is managing logistics. In this case, you could argue I didn't do effective game very well, i.e. the logistics fell apart, but the game itself was good enough that she handled the logistics for me. So let's have a look.
Trouble in the best way. Who are you? I said you look like trouble in the best way. Who are you guys? Todd. Brittany. And what's your name? This is my right. Brittany, I have to say, you look so innocent and then you look so evil. I don't even know what to do with you. What?
I don't know if that is like it.
Just be you. It's all good. I might have to partake in an adult beverage with you at some point. Maybe you can remain intriguing and keep having that love. What?
So what you're basically seeing here is me going in and opening, managing the friend a little bit, and then you've seen my invitation for a drink. What we didn't see is some of the flirting that went on, etc. But notice that from the moment, like the first moment, I'm already taking a frame that is a little bit risky. You're trouble, right? It's very man to woman, etc., etc. And notice that I'm escalating things very quickly. Okay, those are the big sort of tactical lessons to take away here. There are other technical lessons that might be in there, but from a tactical perspective, right? You want to be man to woman from the start. You want to make sure you're conveying a frame. I love this phrase. I use this a lot these days. A frame that, if true, would lead to sex. Okay, a frame that, if true, would lead to sex. You're going in with that frame, and then you're escalating things quickly. And here, the reason I take her to the bar is I want isolation. I want her away from her friend so that I can start to be more intimate, build more of a connection, those kind of things. Oh, and just as a side note, I did have a wingman for the start of the set, so that helped a bit as well.
So you're an interesting combination of shy and confident, actually.
I'm definitely confident. I'm definitely shy.
I'm confident and I used to be shy. Not so much anymore. What? Shy wasn't working, so I was like, you know what? Fuck that.
Yeah, I think shy works for me.
What's that?
Shy works for me. I'm okay with that.
Fair enough. So shall we beverage? What?
So you're getting a drink?
I'm offering to spend time with you over a libation, yes.
So here we've seen, I actually already had asked for the venue change for the drink, but now what I'm doing is I'm actually qualifying her, getting her to jump through some hoops, at least show why she might be a little special, why she's not just the next girl, which makes it make a lot more sense for the escalation to happen. It's kind of funny because without qualification, it doesn't make sense to close. Think about that, right? A lot of people think of qualification in terms of frame control, getting her in your frame, and that's valid, but the biggest reason for qualification isn't that. You should already be assuming, and it should be apparent in the set that you're high value, so that shouldn't really matter that much. But the thing is, if you haven't qualified her, if she hasn't shown anything special, why would you even be closing her? If you're an abundant guy that has lots of options, why would you close some girl that hasn't qualified, right? Think of it that way. And then you'll realize how important qualification is. And actually, even if you're not overtly getting her to qualify to you, at least even giving a reason, or like I call it a fake qualifier, like telling her why you like her, or telling her what she's done to earn your approval, is actually powerful in the sense that it gives a reason why.
I almost don't want to know what you do in real life, but what do you do in real life? Like,
What is your guess?
what's my guess? I don't know, given that your look and given Like, what do you do?
I basically like.
I have no idea what you just said because you're very white.
I basically.
You know, every time I say someone, they say, what, you mean drug dealer? But whatever. I think it's such a vague title. It could be like anything. I was a very serious soccer player one time, and I went down and I trained with some young professional soccer clubs. It was like amazing to be able to do that with people who like that was their whole life.
I don't know if you're like, I know, like, that's really, but like, I love soccer.
Really?
I play soccer.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Really?
I played my entire life.
You just grew on me. You went from like 5'4" to like 5'7". I mean, that's awesome. Did you play in like a league?
I play like that intramural now, but I like wait, okay, what do you watch? Like, what's your favorite
What's your favorite team? I'm a Manchester United fan, as stereotypical as that sounds. Are you like Liverpool or Chelsea or whatever?
I'm a United fan.
What? You're a United fan?
Like,
Really?
like I'm a dual citizen from US and UK, and like I grew up like that's why I love soccer because of like my grandpa was like a United fan. And I watched United from when I was like this big.
This doesn't mean I like you, but I do like that you're a United fan. That's cool. That's awesome.
So on a certain level, this is just boring get to know you conversation, but there's more to it than that, okay? It's non-boring get to know you conversation. The reason being that I'm implying judgment, right? Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I hate that. Oh, you just grew on me, right? And also, instead of me asking her questions, I'm leading by telling stories about me and then letting her fill in the gaps. Think of this. If the girl tells you something about her and you're like, oh, me too, yeah, there's that rapport and similarity, but it's because you're trying for it. And so it's not very genuine. And it's also low value in a way on your part. If on the other hand, you tell her a story and she's like, oh, me too, there's still that same rapport, but now she's the one trying for rapport with you. She's the one chasing it. You're the one leading. It's a much better way to go. And this is what happens when instead of asking her questions, you're telling her stories, making statements, giving her your perspectives on things. Okay, so it's boring get to know you, but it's non-boring because I'm leading with my stories and perspectives and because I'm actively qualifying and judging both positive and negative throughout. And you're gonna see a continuation of that as we go forward.
I have to say, you kind of have to stop impressing me. I started out thinking like we were just gonna not get along at all, and I was kind of comfortable with that. Now it's a little awkward. I'm so used to like whenever I meet people like out, I'm just like, he's gonna have one conversation, but I'm probably gonna like, you know.
I really get along with most people you meet.
I'm kind of an elitist to be fair, but you seem okay though, surprisingly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love that look. Fair enough, all right. So how long are you in Chicago for?
I'm leaving on Tuesday.
Fair enough.
What about you?
I'm leaving Sunday night. So unfortunately, you know, I'm gonna leave a few days early. You're gonna miss me. I hate to do that to you. I know it's gonna be really tough.
I mean, you're going back to here?
New York. What are you implying? You're gonna like stalk me and come meet me in New York and stuff? I hate that your resume is like the things you're into are like perfect. This is not good. This is not good.
I don't know why it's a bad thing, but
I don't know. I'm not used to enjoying. If we hang out, I'm gonna make sure you're irresponsible at least about 45% of the time. I don't know if you'll be able to handle that.
I have a lot of fun, but like when it comes to my career, I used to be like very crazy about like I need to do this. I mean, I don't think I want to stay in my job very long, but
influence because when I was so I studied in college to be a mechanical engineer. I got 1 credit away from graduating, and I quit and became an entrepreneur, and a professional poker player, and then all that other stuff I told you. And it worked out really well for me. But I don't recommend that to everybody.
I mean, I don't think I'm gonna end up doing anything I'm trying. Like, I'm definitely going into a new area after, like, in the next year and a half.
Stick with me, girl. I'll take you straight to the top.
So there's been a subtle shift. So I've been qualifying her and finding reasons why we're together, and now it's kind of agreed upon that we're together, right? It's agreed upon that we like each other, agreed upon that we're an item. And so now I have permission to start being more sexual. And in fact, what I'm doing is I'm getting sexual while disqualifying. Oh, I'll be a bad influence on you. Oh, you better be careful of me, et cetera, right? So I'm bringing up the sexuality. I didn't do this from the start. I didn't go up to the girl and be like, hey, nice ass, wanna fuck? Or I didn't go up and be like, hey girl, you're so sexy, right? Instead, I built the value first and got her qualifying to me, built a connection, and then made it sexual. That's a much more solid way to play it. It's slower, but it's much more effective. And in fact, it's actually not slower. It seems slower, but it's actually faster because what happens is you don't hear no, right? You just go forward very smoothly, and the progression is a lot faster in the end because at some point they start chasing you, and that makes things real fast. So it seems slower, but it's actually faster.
It's your bad quality, like.
Okay, you know my actual bad qualities? I am a terrible influence, and
I mean, I don't think you're that much of a bad influence.
really, give me time. I was gonna say, I love. I can't say it. That's very.
You have to say. I mean, I'm not gonna get over the fact that you haven't said it, so you have to say it.
I was gonna say, I love hanging out with girls with like really good resumes and outsmarting them.
So that's interesting for a couple reasons. One, very cocky, right? And you'll notice my frame is always a bit cocky, but that was very cocky. But notice, it's not actually cocky. Because why? Because I made her ask for it, right? So I started to say it and then stopped like I didn't want to say it, and then she asked for it, I'm like, no, don't worry about it. And she asked again, no, don't. And she finally asked, fine, I'll tell you, right? Once a girl's asked to hear something a few times, you have carte blanche. You can say whatever you want and it's not offensive because you tried not to say it. Right? It's also what I did here is an example of a great technique called an open loop. Right? If you start saying something and then she's interested and then you actually draw away. Most guys, you just start saying something the girl's interested. Oh, I better tell her now because she's interested. Better yet, you're telling her she's interested. Oh, actually, never mind. No, what? Tell me. And now she's chasing you. So great example of an open loop and great example of how to not be cocky while being cocky.
Literally the reason I moved to New York was that I could have conversations with people without having to like dumb it down. As bad as that sounds, seriously. Because New York has a higher average IQ, for sure.
That's really sad, though.
Not my fault. It's talk to Vegas and LA. Don't talk to me about that. To be fair, I'm vapid and superficial. I talk to the attractive people in whatever city. So maybe it's a skewed sample.
So this isn't so much game as it's general relating with people, but this girl, we've cut out like the reasons why I know this, but she's very educated. Like she's a very educated girl, and she clearly does value intelligence based on some of the things she's saying. And so what I'm doing is I'm subtly dropping hints of my own intelligence, right? And again, keeping the cocky frame, keeping it fun, et cetera, but just in subtle ways, right? And I don't even mean the part where I talk about like using small words and that's just the cocky stuff, right? But when I use the words like precocious, or I talk about a skewed sample, like things like that, those are educated things to say. Those are things that like, I was gonna say dumb people, that uneducated people don't say, right? Because you could definitely be very smart and not know those things by all means. But if you've been educated in certain fields, you would know those things, right? And so because I have knowledge in those fields and I have that education, I may as well use it to my advantage. And by the way, this is not to say that you have to be educated to a game. The more general principle is when there's something that is to your advantage, definitely use it and highlight it, right? So if you happen to have a really good physique, use it, highlight it, find ways to work it in subtle ways, right? If you happen to be really good at music or an instrument, maybe you like teach the girl a little musical lesson or a little lesson about rhythm or some shit while you're in the club. The girls would love that, okay? So whatever your advantages are, find ways to work them into the interaction.
I'm tempted to like hang out with you and get to know you more tonight. I don't want to get you in like trouble with your friends and family, but I do enjoy you.
I mean, you're not gonna get me in trouble with anyone.
I mean, I don't know. I know how protective it can be.
My little brother.
Your what?
My little brother.
I'm just saying.
He's like my little brother. So that's what you're scared of?
So you boss him around?
Oh yeah. I'm like,
Are you the oldest? Me too. So you know how to like make decisions for yourself, do what you want to do.
way to go, right?
So at the start of this last little clip we watched, before this, I just found out that she has bad logistics. She's with a brother and a cousin, right? So she's not in a pullable situation, most likely. I thought it was just her and a friend. I'm just finding this out. So what I'm trying though is instead of giving up, I'm gonna try and problem solve it a little bit because I spent a good amount of time with this girl. She's given me a lot of good buying signals. I think she's down. So in spite of the bad logistics, I'm not just gonna run away. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try a couple things. One, I'm gonna try and sell her on the idea of, oh, she's an adult, she can make her own decisions, and maybe like keep her from going back to the family, maybe like just steal her away for a little bit and see if I can work around the logistics, right? And then beyond that, if that doesn't work, what I might do is I might go and meet the friends for a little bit, and by doing that, she buys kind of her obligation with them, and then she can bounce off with me again later, or maybe they'll just like me and they'll give permission for us to hang out in a friendly way, who knows, right? But it's worth a try, because A, things are looking good, and B, I'll find out quickly. When I meet the friends, I will know within a minute or two, like whether it's on or off with the friends, right? I'll know very quickly. So it's worth the investment to find out.
You want to introduce me to the rest of your posse?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
If you can find that.
We'll try. If not, I'll hang out with you, but we'll try. Okay? Let's go. I said your friends and family are cool. I give you credit.
Like, I mean, like, I have cool fans.
Yeah. So, would you like to grab a drink? Would you like to grab a drink with this cute boy?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah? And it's really up to you. I'm not one to beg.
Depends on where you go.
What's that?
Depends on where you go.
I don't know why I'm so amused by you, but I am. I appreciate the fact that you're confident, actually. Sadly, it's a rare trait. So many girls so insecure.
I mean, I wouldn't like, consider myself like crazy confident. I just like have my own
You know who you are?
personality.
You said you have your own reality, is that what you said?
Personality.
Well, as personalities go, it doesn't seem so bad so far. You're welcome. Thank yourself. Quickly though, just in case I lose you, we should do numbers just in case I lose you in the crowd. But I will hang out with you for a little bit as well. Fair? Yeah.
So what you just saw was getting a number, making it solid, doing all the proper procedures to make sure that that is the case, okay? But the plan here was to meet up with her later because I didn't think logistics were good. However, when I texted her, things changed very quickly, as we'll see in a second. So let's break down the text. So I start off, hey, it's Todd, nice meeting you. Nothing all that clever, nothing all that serious. It's just, trusting that I ran a good set. And then she goes, where are you at? Come meet us, sad face. Well, that's pretty good. Now, I still don't necessarily think that if I meet up with her, it'll be good, but this is a very good indicator, so I want to find out. So I say, where did you go? She goes, not far, which is annoying because it doesn't, I meant like an actual location. So I go K ... She goes K. And then there's just silence there. So then at this point, like, either she's a little busy, she's like wants to meet me, or she's not sure, or she doesn't want to be too slutty, or maybe she doesn't even know where she is, I don't know. But so I go, LOL, not the best directions I've ever received. Would love to meet up, back up with you, etc., right? Otherwise we can meet up later. So she goes, haha, okay, you should meet me though. It's interesting when I said, oh, it's fine if we meet later, I'm being non-needy. Now all of a sudden she's way more into meeting me. It's a typical thing in text. If you're less needy, she'll chase more. So I go, okay, I need some directions, or you could come meet me. She goes, I'm staying at my friend's, gives me the area, let me know. Now here, I obviously am very good with this because she was with the friend, and then later on she was going to be with the family members. If she's with the friend and not the family members, I think odds are good. But I also don't know if I'm trying to assess whether I should bring a friend with me to take care of the friend and we're like gonna go hang out and party, or if I should come alone. So I'm trying to assess the situation, but I don't want to be like, so is it just you or you and her? I don't want to be like that because that's too obvious that I'm like trying to booty call her, right? So I kind of make it on the friend a little bit. So I say, if she's fun and cool to hang out with, I'm down to be social. And she goes, yeah, you met her, LOL. And then come. All right, so that's pretty good, all right? So I go, okay, Kay, where? I'll grab an Uber. She gives me an address and says, let me know. So then from here, that's actually good. And here's a little line I use a lot. I say, that's actually near where I'm staying. Of course, I'll head over. Rather than it being, hey, that's way out of my way. I'll bend over backwards for you. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm actually, ironically, I'm on my way there too. Cool, right? It just makes it less needy. It makes it all seem more like it just happened. It's a subtle little thing, but it makes a big difference. So, okay, come soon. Heading back, so let me know. And I don't know what I'm heading back means. It turns out this meant she's heading back towards that place, but I thought she meant she's heading back to like where we came from, or back to the clubs, or I don't even know. So I go, yeah, I'll be there in a few minutes. And I go, okay, I'm outside the building. And then she goes, I'm close, hold on. And then good things ensue. And then our next message is early in the morning, because we were basically on the friend's couch. So what happened was we went back to the friend's place. The friend was not happy, but the friend didn't object, just like kind of walked us in. We walked in silence with the friend pissed off. Friend just walked straight into her apartment, went into her room and closed the door. And then my girl's like, oh, I feel like such a bad friend. I feel like such a bad person. So I had to deal with that for 5 or so minutes. And then things were good. Things escalated and progressed relatively nicely. It was relatively slow, but there weren't a lot of like pauses or any real resistance. It was just slow. And then we ended up, having intimate relations. And then she was gonna have me sleep over on the couch, but the couch was a little small. And also I felt it'd be awkward when the friend got up in the morning. And also I had to go shoot a video. So there were a lot of reasons for me to leave. So I texted her this nice message giving her a reason why, so that she doesn't feel slutty, doesn't feel used. And this is a good thing to do if you do wanna see the girl again later, right? If I were to just stay over and it's awkward with a friend in the morning, that might not be so good. If I were to just bounce, she might feel like used or like feel like it was a negative experience. But by doing it this way and saying, hey, I couldn't fit on that couch, but it was nice meeting you, etc., it leaves it open, but it also is completely non-needy and completely have better things to do. And so she texts me here, no worries, it was definitely too tight for two. And then later on, she actually did follow up and text me more to try and meet up with me later. So I've shown you the text actually all the way through the meetup, but I'm gonna show you the walk-in as well really quickly. So let's have a look at that. So as you can see, we're walking in, friend in front, then her, and then me. And I'm like, well, this is a little awkward, but I was invited, so I'm gonna walk in. And like I said, it was a little bit, the friend was not exactly happy, but she just stayed in the elevator in silence. I complimented her for being very cool, and then she went off to her room, closed the door, and that was that. So, a little socially awkward, but I'll take a little social awkwardness for a good result in the game.